GTR.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is my new easy GTR guitar lesson. This time around we're going to study a very intense score. This is the Prelude from Bach's Cello Suite No. 1. And if you get a chance, why don't you come up to easygtr.com real quick and you can download our PDF score. All you have to do is sign up for the newsletter real fast. It'll keep you informed when our next lesson is, and go ahead and grab it, and that way you can study with us note for note. The score has got the actual notation and the tab. Now sure, the tab is there for your convenience, but we're going to actually focus on reading notes. We're going to study the actual notation just a little bit more to help improve your musicianship. And I believe we've got 44 measures in the song, so I'll try and get through this lesson series in maybe 5 or so lessons, maybe a few more depending on how time works for us. So once again, come up, sign up for the newsletter, get the score, and study along. Now before we get started, I just have to give just a couple quick shout outs, and I'm really appreciative of our sponsors. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to MXL Mogami Cables for helping us improve the sound of the videos. They supplied us with this really awesome microphone. This is I'll put it right here, this is a R144 ribbon microphone, and it just sounds great, and I thank you. And they also supplied us some really good cables for the mic and the guitar. And here's something extra cool. I want to show you this. This is from Peterson Tuners. This is one of those clip-on tuners that you've been seeing around town, but this one is a true strobo tune. I'll turn it on real quick for you. Yeah, check that guy out. That's an actual strobo tune. So let's put it on the guitar, and why don't we get tuned up really fast? And I'll just put it right here, and I'll give you a quick E note. You don't need any cables. You just put it on the guitar, and it reads the vibrations. There's our low E. There's our A note. And when it comes to a complete standstill, you know you're in tune. So there's our A. Tune up to your A. There's your D note. And G. It's rolling a little sharp, but we'll be okay. A B. And an E. So we're in standard 440 tuning. Okay, so get tuned up and let's get started. Now hopefully you've already downloaded the score and printed it out. That way you can study along here. And what I want to do before we get started really is just say that this score has some peaks and valleys. There's some pretty challenging places, and there's other parts where it's a pretty smooth ride. You just have to work slow, and the notes themselves typically are in groups of 4/16 notes. If you look carefully, there's just nothing but strict metered 16th notes. 4/4 timing, the key of G. And there's also a bit of repetition, thankfully. In each measure, the same motif or idea, for the most part, repeats. So you're playing the same thing twice in a row. That'll be one idea, then you repeat it again. So you got that little thing going on where you learn it once and you get to play it twice. That's the majority of the song. The second half gets a little trickier. But we'll just work through it. We'll go nice and slow. Now, as a quick side note, I just wanted to let you know that about maybe 6 months to a year ago, I saw a YouTube video of Yo-Yo Ma performing this on the cello. And that's what really inspired me to transport this over to the guitar. And what I did is I took the score originally written for cello in the bass clef, and I transposed it up to the treble clef, and went ahead, tabbed and notated it for you. And the fingering was basically for me. I wanted to make sure that we stayed true to the way the cello would perform this. So for the most part, I would say 99% of the entire song, I only made sure that we're only working on the E, A, D, and the G string, just as it would be a bass guitar. So we're not really going to be using the B or the high E string for the most part. Now granted, fingerings are fingerings. If you're more comfortable staying in one position and reaching for the higher strings, be my guest. That's all up for interpretation, but for me, I just wanted to be a little bit more true in realism and stay down on the lower strings to get those lower frequencies. Okay, with that said, let's look at bar 1. Now, what we have here, once again, we have groupings of 16th notes. So let's go ahead and look at our first bar. We've got the notes G, D, B, and A. That's our first grouping. G, D, B, A. I'll play that one more time. G, D, B, A. Then we play the notes B, D, B, D. Okay, so if you actually put the first two groupings of 16th notes together, that actually forms the motif or melodic idea. Grouping 1 sounds like this. Grouping 2 sounds like this. Now together they sound like this. That's how the melodic idea is phrased. Then it just repeats. G, D, B, A, B, D, B, D. So measure 1 in essence sounds like this. Now let's move on to measure 2. Now once again you can see we just have nothing but groupings of 16th notes. Let's look at the first grouping. We've got the low G, then we have a E, then to C, then to B. G, E, C, B. Grouping 2 has the notes C, E, C, E. C, E, C, E. So let's put groupings 1 and groupings 2 together to form our melodic phrase. G, E, C, B, C, E, C, E. Then if you look carefully, that just repeats itself one more time. Okay, so measure 2 in its entirety will sound like this. Now let's review. Measure 1. Measure 1 will sound like this. Repeat. Measure 2. Repeat. Now let's move on to measure 3. Now what we have here, we've got the low G to an F sharp to a C to a B. That's group 1, which will look like this, or sound like this rather. G, F sharp, C, B. Then we'll play the notes C, F sharp, C, F sharp. That will be grouping 2. So the first two groupings, which obviously form our melodic phrasing for measure 3, will sound like this. G, F sharp, C, B, C, F sharp, C, F sharp. Then we just repeat it one more time. So measure 3, as a review, will sound like this. Alright, let's look at measure 4. Now, if you look at the score, we have a low G, it goes up to its higher octave G, to a B, to an A. That would be the first grouping of our 16th notes. Then our second grouping would be B, G, B, G. Let's take a look at that. G, G, B, A, grouping 2, B, G, B, G. Let's go ahead and play that for you. G, G, B, A, B, G, B, G. Now let's look at grouping 3 because it's actually not quite as repetitious. We have a small change here. Now we're going to go from G to its higher octave G, back to B, back to A. That repeats, but then we're going to play a B, G, B to F sharp. It's going to lead us into a new idea. I'll go ahead and review measure 4 for you. Cool. I'll go ahead and review measures 1 to 4 for you, then we'll take a break and we'll continue on our next lesson. So here's measure 1. Measure 2. Measure 3. And measure 4. Now remember, fingering is optional. I did this to accommodate myself and what I thought would be nice, to really keep this in line with how a cellist might actually perform this. But once again, whatever, is good for you, whatever feels good for your hands, figure it out. You can roam around the neck and find an A note a few different places or whatever. That's, clearly up to your interpretation. All right, guys, this has been lesson number 1. Hope you enjoyed it. We got a long road ahead of us. This is a very intense score, as you can see. And I'll see you next time.